Hey everybody, welcome to episode number 6 in our Nano Tank special. My buddy Gage is here with me once again, and today, as we said earlier in earlier episodes, we're going to deliver this episode to you in a very unique, very special way because we're going to talk about a very crucial aspect of keeping a nano tank. We're both big fans of Arnold Schwarzenegger, so we're going to go into the attics, into the voices in our head. We're going to pull out Arnold, and we're going to present this to you as Arnold Schwarzenegger. Yeah, okay, good.
Yeah. So let's start a little bit about salinity. Peter, why is salinity important and what exactly is salinity?
Salinity is important because it's basically a measurement of the salt water that is in the tank. Now this is very crucial because, as you know, I know this sounds like a duh, but after all, this is a saltwater aquarium, so it makes sense that we're talking about salinity here.
Yeah, it would be helpful to know that I've got salt in my saltwater tank. Yeah. So now let me ask you something. I can't see salt in there, can you?
No, I cannot!
I cannot see with my muscular eyes. So this now tells me that I need something to check my salinity. What do we use to check our salinities?
Most people, when they start out, they use this thing called a hydrometer because it measures your salinity. It starts out as a very cool thing. People will try to sell you jives, but it's not very accurate.
Now they are puny. A lot of people buy them because they are cheap. And a lot of other people buy them because they just don't know any better. You go into a fish store and you tell yourself, I want a saltwater tank and I want it now. And they hand you a hydrometer and they tell you it's awesome. It's not. It's puny. I have here for you a demonstration of why it is puny. I have filled this tank, I filled this hydrometer with tank water from Peter's tank. We know that his salinity is okay. However, the hydrometer is telling me that it is not. The hydrometer, as you can see here, is telling me that his salinity is at a 1024. I know this to not be true. Now, the problem with hydrometers, number one, they're inaccurate. Number two, I don't know if you can see it, but there's a puny little air bubble on the needle, which makes it inaccurate. So when you fill these and you do have air bubbles on the needle, it is important that you kind of hit them on the countertop to get rid of any air bubbles that's on this needle. Now, talking about accuracy. Peter, besides the air bubbles on the needle which we just covered, why are these puny?
Well, if you get things like saltwater deposits and all this crappy stuff happens to your hydrometer, eventually, for your reading to be accurate, it's going to have to change because your numbers, obviously my reading is, what was it, 1.24, so
yeah.
1.24. Obviously we know that is not the appropriate reading, but because the math has to change, you have to adapt. Mine was like 9 points off at one point and it was not very cool. But to change it, to get a different reading, to get the accurate reading, you have to take it to your fish store and you have to say, okay, I need to recalibrate my hydrometer. How do I do this? What you do is you use a refractometer, which we'll talk about in a minute. But your reading has to change, therefore your number has to change for your reading to be accurate. It's just puny, it's just hard, and it's just a headache.
Yeah, and they want to tell you that when they come straight from the store to you that they are accurate. Well, I am here to tell you that it's a lie, because we have things like shipping and handling, which throws it around like this, and that little needle in there gets bouncing around, and when that gets bouncing around, it gets uncalibrated. Before, remember the number 1024, because that is what this hydrometer said that our tank water is. We know that it is not. So, hydrometers, they are very unreliable and inaccurate. Over time, they lose accuracy and you cannot recalibrate them. The only way to recalibrate them, technically, is to do some math and draw a new calibration line on your hydrometer. We don't have time to color.
No, we don't.
So, we go out and we buy one of these. Would you like to briefly explain what this is?
This is a refractometer. This will allow you to have a more accurate measurement. A lot of people use these. I tell you what, I'll be straight with you now. This is what the fishy stores use.
Yeah. Now what makes this really, really nice as opposed to a hydrometer is you're not going to deal with having to fill this with water. You're not going to deal with having to stick your hand in the tank. You're not going to deal with gravity. Gravity is not the issue here, because sometimes when you're dealing with hydrometers, we know that they measure due to buoyancy of the salt in the water. So that's another reason they are inaccurate. They get all out of whack. Now, when you're talking a refractometer, how does this work? Well, just sit tight, I will tell you how this works. What you do here, inside of this refractometer, there is a prism. And inside of this prism, depending on how much salt is in your water, it causes the light to reflect off of this prism in certain ways. When you look through here, there is a graph. On one side it tells you your salinity. On the other side it tells you your parts per trillion. Don't worry about that because they go hand in hand. The only thing you need to know is your salinity reading. What do we want our tank to be?
Now, if we're looking at the reef tank, we want a maximum reading of somewhere between 0.123 and 0.126. Now, you don't want any higher for a reef tank than 0.126. If you're higher than that, you're in trouble. It's not good.
That's right. So we want to go, now if you have a fish only tank, you can be you can go a little bit higher,
a little lower. Yeah.
Yeah, if you have a fish only tank, I would say that you could be right around the premise of maybe a 1019 all the way up to like a 102728. And that is because of the fact that fish, they are more resilient, they are better, they are faster, they are stronger, so they can resist salinity easily. Corals cannot. So now let's get back on the topic of the refractometer. How do we use this? Well, I briefly explained the internals of it. Now, you take your pipette. I dropped it! You take your pipette, which comes with your refractometer. And for those of you that don't know what this is, I will explain it to you. You put this in your tank and you suck up a little bit of water, which I will now do. You then put it on the lens here, like this. And then you close the, I don't know what this is called, so I'm going to call it the flippity-doo-dah thingy. You now close the flippity-doo-dah thingy and it makes a permanent little seal here and it creates suction. Now what you're going to do is you're going to look through here, like this, and you're going to hold it up to the light. Okay, now we know to Peter's tank, because we have not done the water change yet today, which we usually do, we know that his salinity is going to be a little bit low. Now, this is telling me that the salinity is 1021, which is absolutely correct. Now, the salinity reading on a hydrometer said it was 1024. Why is this a problem? If you're going to check your salinity and your hydrometer, you have one of these puny things and it tells you that your salinity is 1024, you say to yourself, well, I'm good, I don't have to do anything, I'm a reef master. Well, I'm here to tell you that you don't know shit, because now your salinity is at a 1021, which is unacceptable if you have coral. Your tank's going to die, your stuff's going to look like shit, and you're going to throw a bunch of money down the drain because you bought one of these. So, now that we have an accurate reading of 1021, what do we do? Peter, let me ask you something. A lot of people, they go out there and they have a saltwater tank and they say to themselves, well, I have evaporation from my tank, this is a saltwater tank. I need to add salt water. Is that correct?
If your salinity is low, then yeah.
Yeah. What happens if I have just straight salinity reading and I have evaporation of a 10, say my reading is now a 1023. Do I add salt water to my tank, or should I add fresh water, or what do you suggest?
Now, if it's going to be too low, I would say add fresh water, but do it very carefully.
Yeah. Basically, what we're trying to tell you here is when you have evaporation in your tank, your salt stays and your water goes. So if you start off with a reading of 1023, at the end of the week, if you have evaporation in your tank, your salinity reading is going to be higher. We have to balance this out with fresh water. You cannot add more salt water to your tank if your tank is already high. That's going to create more of a problem. Now we're going to have too much salt, and we can't just take it out unless we do a big water change, then we got to add a bunch of more fresh water, and it's a mess. So if we have a low reading, we add salt. If we have a high reading, we add fresh water. Is there anything else you would like to add to this?
Hopefully you enjoyed that, and if you want more of it, if you see this video, I have a feeling this could be a YouTube sensation. So if you see this particular video and you like it, and you want to see more Dueling Arnolds, let us know.
Get back to us now. We'll be back. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.